Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg. In a new place today. We had a wonderful weekend and lots to talk about. And so first off, we're going to start out at 9 o'clock with Liberty Essentials with Ralph, the IT guy, Bill Mohr, and Karen, the Riveter. And then at 10 o'clock, a young guy called Patrick Christie is going to be coming on. And we're going to be reviewing the new bill that was introduced by Josh Shriver about prohibiting same-sex marriages. But first off, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this morning's with Liberty Essentials. How you guys doing this morning?
Good
morning.
I am telling you right now, I'm a little congested. You can probably hear it. So yesterday this thing hit me, and I think it's the same thing that so many people have had in the state of Michigan here. And it's some sort of a cold or flu or something. So if I'm a little fuzzy-headed more than normal, just kind of plan on it today. It was a rough start. So how you guys doing? And what are we talking about today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'll tell you, I went through what you're going through last week a little bit there, Donna. Whatever it was, everybody that I know that got it just hit them pretty hard for a day and then lingered on for, some a week, some a couple weeks. I mean, it's going around. Everybody's got to start watching what kind of stuff they put in their bodies. I know. Well, you know what I'm going through, Donna. I've drastically changed basically everything in my life, and it's been quite a feat to pull it off. Nonetheless, I'm too stubborn to get rid of some of the things that I like to hang on to, but for certain circumstances, you got to sacrifice to better your own health, I guess. So here we are, still alive and kicking.
I did the same thing. So when I was diagnosed with cancer years ago, I went completely vegan, and I mean it was like that quick. That's quite a trip when you're a meat eater and you eat meat like 3 times a day: breakfast steak, lunch steak, hamburger, roast, pork, chicken, whatever, because I could just eat meat full time. And I decided that when I got diagnosed with cancer that I was just going to stop. And so there was enough evidence out there for me that showed that a plant-based diet was what turned cancer off. And I literally within 2 weeks, all of the symptoms, the pain that I had, because it was in my bones, it was in my brain and bones, it was like everywhere. I had terrible pain. And within 2 weeks it was gone. But I did the same thing. I was very drastic, and I think that it's something worth considering and try everything. Not that it's going to work the same for everyone, but I do think it's something to be experimented on. So how you doing with this?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. There are enough times where I've tripped up or forgotten, just out of routine yet. I'm still trying to build the habitual stuff up. But I'm doing pretty good. The cool thing about it is you get to realize that your will is only as strong really as you make it out to be. I've always been one of those who look around, and if there's something that needs to be done or something that has to be done or something I need to get rid of, you have that initial resistance to do anything, but your will eventually should take over if you know what you're doing is good and you should be doing it. That should take over, and you should be driven to do those things which better yourselves, right? That falls into a whole nother topic I was talking about with somebody this week, regarding what we see going on. It's not just like you went through cancer, Donna, and I've got other things going on, and I've known many people who have gone through this. And it's not that we just sit back and say, well, there's nothing more we can do. We're just going to accept fate and carry on. We get up and we do the things necessary to get it taken care of. Let me tell you this, bring that around into what we see in our own nation today, right? How many people would agree that our nation is just full of cancer? right? And when I say cancer, I mean lawlessness, promoting abominable acts, complete disregard for the Constitution that we put in place to establish it. The whole thing is cancerous, right? Well, who leads up this body of government, right? Who's in charge of this body of government?
We the people.
We the people are, right? So look at it that way. It's like our governmental body, not our physical body, but our governmental body is decaying and what's the word? Is it degrading, piece by piece. And it's the people's job to stand up and right all of these issues that we may get rid of the cancer we see. And I know a lot of people like to talk about Doge right now. And Donna, you know my sentiments on Doge. I see some things happening, but what I don't see is the justice that's needed to eliminate the cancers that we are finding, right? Hopefully that'll come down the pipeline. I'm not going to hold my breath for it because I'll probably run out. But hopefully that'll come down the pipeline. But that's what's needed by the people to eliminate the cancers that we see going on, right? There you go. Personal aspect to a very large national problem.
Well, and I'm willing to give everybody, a chance, and seeing the amount of motion that we've had in the last month is absolutely inspiring. There are so many moving pieces in this. And when I was in DC last week, so I was off here for about 10 days. So the first thing, I had 2 trips to Mar-a-Lago, and then I had 1 to DC. And it was pretty incredible. I mean, it really was. I'm going to start posting some photos. I got to have see and meet with Milei and Bolsonaro and some other people that are global leaders. And I see a concerted effort. And I don't think it's just the United States. I think what we're seeing is a global takedown of this crime syndicate that's been running everything. I don't think we're going to see that happen in a day. But what I did see when I was in DC was there were so many buildings that are empty, and everyone there seemed to have the opinion of a less than 50% occupancy rate. So I think we can conclude from that, honestly, that they've been cleaning this out for quite a while. I don't think that this started just when President Trump was inaugurated, but I think we're seeing more public things happen. The other thing I saw there was how many pieces of real estate, houses, condos, and such were for sale. Now, you got to understand, I was there during the inauguration. I was there for the inauguration. And I saw things dramatically change from then to now, publicly. So it gave me a lot of hope. I don't know, I feel pretty hopeful at seeing what's going, but you don't take down a I don't know, 1,000 year death cult crime syndicate overnight. And so I do have a lot of questions yet as I'm watching this, but I think we're going, I'm just glad I'm glad there's the motion that we're seeing. And I am cheering everyone on out there who is doing something, because a lot of people and most people are just sitting back and going, yay, sports team. And they're doing nothing. That has been my concern from the beginning, that we need to see we the people with some action. Now, I did a TikTok video this morning on my next guest is on the bill that came up. I think it's House Resolution 28. I can look it up in a minute. That was introduced by Josh Shriver, who declined to come on this morning. I asked him if he wanted to come on because I think we should talk about this, and he declined. So Patrick Christie is going to be on talking about this. We need to be talking about all of these difficult issues, and it's going to take transparency to do it. If Doge gets in there and starts kicking things apart and putting things out there, that's great. If we go to the state of Michigan and we see everything needs to be put out there. We need complete transparency. That's fantastic. When I have a guy that decides that he's going to introduce a bill, but his answer is that I communicate weekly with my X amount of constituents, but won't come on to discuss it, I'm highly suspect at this point in time. I'm highly suspect with all the things going on with Doge and with the cuts and the things that need to be done in the state and everywhere, that they would introduce such a controversial bill at this point in time. And it's a bill that's based on philosophical differences, okay? On what's right and wrong. This is a philosophical, if you look at it from the outside, okay? I am absolutely a believer in Christ and in his laws and his call for obedience. However, when we see the government get involved in some things, that the questions that are being asked or the actions that are being taken are perhaps even counterproductive or mistimed, I have some problems with this, because I'm going to stand on my opinion of this, that the government has no business in marriage, period. They are literally betting. This is a usurpation. And so the Republicans now are going to go, we're going to rally the troops against the gays and against the lesbians and against the whatever words we want to say. And I want to say to the Republicans out there, why haven't you done anything about the child trafficking that's going on? Why didn't you for J6? Why didn't you stand for the abortion issue and do something to fix this? Because this all comes down to funding, guys. It's all about the money, and it's all about the funding. And every one of these bastards are in there to build up their little industry of taking money away from the people of Michigan and creating distractions, fixing nothing, and continuing to build up their little unconstitutional empires, which comes down to money laundering every single time. If we would have had somebody in there that said, you know what, the discussion is ended. We are going to absolutely get out of marriage. Y'all want to do what you want to do, go do what you want to do, but this is not something that the government should be involved in. Well, right then and there, it cuts off the theft that's happening within our judicial system to what they're really doing is that they're betting that our marriages will fail so that they can get us all in court and take our children, custody of our children, as well as our stuff. This is what this is really all about. And with the civil action jurisdiction that we have right now, taking 18% of every money judgment, 98% of the court cases involved in money judgment, this is just to enrich themselves, to grab our kids, to put them into CPS, which should be abolished for the crimes against humanity that they have taken part in. And so they keep bringing up these issues to try to get to people's, to get people into crazy land, to stop people from thinking. And this is what I see right here. So I'm kind of like on the outs on this entire thing, with neither side asking the right question. And literally the Republicans right now running right into a usurpation. And no one really understands the issue. The issue is a constitutional issue. And the Constitution in the state of Michigan was unlawfully installed in 1963. It was not even installed correctly. They didn't have the votes, and nobody fought them. So right now, while we're going into this, we've got a very uneducated population, not enough people that care to look into it and fight it. And both sides are doing what they've always done. The Uniparty has literally set themselves up to start a fight to distract away from the real issues.
You know what I think?
No business in marriage whatsoever.
I think we're kind of being tested repeatedly. I've been thinking about this because the Trump endorsement, complete and total endorsement of Meshawn Maddock, is one that's been sticking with me for a while, because he gave a complete and total endorsement of me, Sean, for the Michigan GOP chair. And what was it? 2 or 3 days later, they had the vote. And 63% of them voted for somebody else. 30-something% voted for her. And that just blew my mind, because that's surprising to me that our Republican Party in Michigan actually went against what Trump had said. And I just was shocked. And I said, I posted it and I asked you about, you think that means people of Michigan, even in the GOP, are growing a brain? I think it was a compare and contrast moment. That's the thing. It's like a test. If Trump puts out an endorsement, he's testing. What is the response of the public going to be? That gives him information. 2, are they going to listen to this, or are they going to think for themselves? So the Republican House has a account on X, and I got on 2 days ago and created a Karen the Riveter X account because I wanted to see what's going on X. I've been thinking about it for a while. I decided to go ahead and do it. I found out because it's showing it to me. Hey, you want to get it in the Michigan Republican Party? I was like, I scrolled around on it a little bit and I'm like, okay, sure. Let me just see what's going on over there. And then I saw what they were posting. And they posted about, excuse me, I'm a little congested too, that the next big issue that we think we could tackle is the roads. And I answered them right away, like, are you serious? The next big issue is the roads. Forget the damn roads. I don't care about the roads. I know there's some roads that need to get taken care of. I get it. I want to know if you're going to talk about the election. Are you going to fix the elections? And are you going to fix human trafficking? Are you doing anything for those 2 things in the state of Michigan? The roads is being thrown out there by Whitmer as a topic. It's being thrown out there by the Republican Party as a topic. This is the test.
Well, and on top of that, constitutionally, the roads should not be a concern of the Department of Transportation as it is right now. Technically, the roads should be being maintained by a department within the post office.
Yep, only for postal roads.
Karen, are you at Karen the Riveter?
Mm-hmm.
On X. Okay. Excuse me. I'm trying something new this morning. Let's see if it works.
So if you get back to what you were just talking about, Donna, this bill that you're going to bring up later in the show, and I won't spend too much time because I did a whole show on that once. But this bill you're going to bring up, I mean, it's pretty simple. It doesn't take a whole lot of brain power to figure out what to do with this, right? Nowhere in our federal constitution does Congress have the authority to legislate in any manners whatsoever in marriage. It just doesn't exist. If it's not there, who does it belong to, everybody? The states, people. Right? Okay, so you go to the state of Michigan. What does the state of Michigan say? In 2004, we added the constitutional amendment that marriage between one man and one woman is the only marriage that is to be recognized as marriage in the state, right? Not licensed, recognized within the state. Oh, well, what did we do before 2004, I wonder? Well, how is marriage regulated among the states in 2004? Well, who did it belong to then? It belonged to the people, right? It's the people's right to marry. The state has no business in it except as a reporting agency. You want your marriage certified so that nobody can dispute it? File a record with your clerk, right? That's what clerks are good for. That's like their number one sole duty is to keep records of public, right? Yep. That's why we have courts of records as well. If it ever comes into dispute, it goes up in front of the court of record. Okay. So
To record them, and I would also say retrieve them, because we've got way too many clerks right now that are just basically black holing the information they're given.
Yes.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But if it wasn't there before 2004, if that was our amendment that we put in place, right, and it wasn't overturned until 2015, because the Supreme Court somehow perceived they had the authority to do that, it was the people's right to marry. And you have to think, where does marriage belong, right? Where did this all start from? We could do a whole show on that. It all started from the very basis of Genesis, right? God is the author of marriage. It shows the depiction between Christ and the church all the way through Scripture, right? Blackstone said it very clearly. If laws do not coincide with the Constitution or the laws of God, that they are null and void. You can't have one without the other, right? So yeah, that entire bill should just be thrown away. They have no business to waste our dollars on it, even talking about it, let alone making any action on it.
It also sounds to me, again, besides the concept of a test, like a popularity contest thing, because who's the rep that first puts this out? That's the rep that's trying to gain attention for themselves, because they're wanting to know, are Michiganians ready for this particular topic, because they've been taking the temperature of the MAGA movement, and they want to know, can they use that quote unquote red wave to advance themselves politically? I don't care who it is. That's just my guess. Maybe that's not it, but that's what I would see it as. Who's the first guy to jump on this and try to gain some popularity in the state of Michigan?
And I think too is something, to draw parallels with what we're seeing with Doge. I'm a big fan of what they're doing with Doge. I'm not going to take that away from them, but it doesn't go far enough. They need to be a little bit more, in my opinion, more extreme with the cuts to bring it in line with what's constitutionally allowable. And we may see that going forward. I hope we do.
I think so.
A half measure of something can a lot of times be worse than a full measure.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
We need to rip this evil right out by the root and turn it into a little black smoldering pile of ashes. And that goes back to, all of it. And the fact that there was a Republican that introduced this bill today just further reinforced my belief that there are really good people in the Republican and the Democrat parties. They're trying to do the right thing. They really are. But when you look at the structure of the political parties, they are criminal organizations. There's no two ways about it. They have taken foreign money. They've taken dark money. They are in their root being bought off. And when you see how these things go through an election cycle, which all of us have, because we've been kind of like had a front row seat to this, right? I have some serious concerns that this will ever be fixed from the inside, because there's no reason. There's no reason for them to fix this on the inside. I want to read just something here. Let me see if I can pull it up, because this directly relates to my run for governor in 2022. Let me talk amongst yourselves just a minute. Oh, let's see. I found it. This is so kind of, it's so backwards. Oh, okay.
Well, and one of the things that I see with Doge that not many people are talking about quite yet, but you look at the guy who's heading up Doge, right? We know Elon Musk, right? Everybody should know a little bit about Elon Musk. Okay?
But he's not really, Bill. That's the thing. They keep blaming it on him. He's an advisor to the president. He has no authority in the department.
Right, but he's being placed there and has become the talking head of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he is the one that first and foremost is taking billions of dollars a year in government subsidies just to run through his corporations that he owns, Tesla and SpaceX, namely. And you look at some of the things that Doge had first done was to get rid of a couple of the, I don't know if they're called attorney generals or inspector generals of different departments who had years of evidence looking into a lot of the misappropriation of funds that were going into Elon Musk companies. Why were they gone so quickly if he's there? I see that completely opposite of the way that most people see it. I see that was set up to eliminate that, to eliminate those people looking into his own companies.
That was a concern that I had before they even started with it, when they were announcing that too, because you've also got in there, I think it's called Solar City, if I remember right, his solar company that he was involved in that you don't hear about much now, but they're still pretty. They still do quite a bit with the Tesla power walls and such. There's, Elon is rich because he's so smart. No, it's pretty much all from subsidies. And what they're doing right now, I can't say I disagree with it, but like I said, it's, what they've done is they've put a department under the executive branch to cut stuff from the executive branch, which, okay, they have the authority to do that, but most of those other departments never had the authority to be there in the first place, or it's a violation of separation of powers for those agencies to even exist as a rulemaking organization within the government, because Congress placed authority under the executive branch, and it's an unlawful delegation of their authority. And
right.
So in a lot of ways, it doesn't, I agree with the cuts, but they don't go deep enough, and my hope is that as things roll on, that they will start cutting deep enough, but we'll have to see. It's been about a month now. We're pretty early into this, but we'll see.
I have some other questions here too from being at CPAC. So I'm probably a little more in tune with linguistics, that the way people talk. And I think that's really telling. When I was listening to Elon, honestly, listen to him talk. He doesn't sound like a South African. He sounds like he speaks English, American English, and he throws in a British word every once in a while, but it doesn't sound South African to me. So I'm like, what's really going on here? I would think it would be really funny to have an actual professional linguist listen to him, because it doesn't make any sense to me. He's a native American English speaker. When you listen to his words carefully, you'll pick it out.
Yeah. And one of the other things you have is a lot of the, especially Republican, party members of Congress, they're in there praising what is being cut with Doge, or what's being discovered with Doge, right? Especially the misappropriation of funds. And I'm humored by the fact that they come in and are praising that, all the while stating that they didn't know that this stuff was going on. Yet they are the only ones with the authority to delegate, or I'm sorry, to appropriate funds, right? So wherever any money is missing in the federal government, Congress is the responsible party. It humors me. And a lot of people buy into this to say, yeah, we didn't know that, and yeah, now you should be doing something about it. Well, I agree, but you should have been doing something about it before as well, right?
Hey, I'm still a fan of the policy of everything that goes through Congress needs to be read aloud, so that they actually have to go through it, because
they have no idea what's going on. It's all, plausible deniability on everything. But these people knew that all of this was going on.
Passing these budgets that are thousands of pages long.
And then, oh no, we missed this. Yeah, sure you did. How much money did you get on the back end? And, to all of them, I'd like to see that, because when you start looking at their bank accounts and such, doesn't make any sense. Why would Betsy DeVos put $59 million into our elections and then start a group after secret meeting called Republicans for Whitmer? Are you kidding me? And nobody's calling this out.
Yeah, well, John Adams rightly stated on his first night after being in the White House, he had stated that I pray heaven to bestow the blessings on this house and all that shall hereafter inhabit it. May none but honest and wise men ever rule under this roof. Right? They understood it back in 1800, and the people are forgetting that today. You read in Exodus 18, there are qualifications for those who should be given any authority, any delegated authority by the people. And that's exactly what the Israelites were doing in Exodus when they were setting up judges. They were delegating the authority to individuals to be able to righteously judge among the people according to the law. Welcome to a republic, people, right? This is what we should be looking at. And it's not some just federal judgments that we should be focused on, but this is the stuff that should be happening in our own communities, right? We should be able to judge amongst ourselves if the people are, as John Adams said, if the people are moral and religious enough to make such judgments, which I believe the majority are not right now. But this is where the real men need to stand up, and women, Karen and Donna, where you need to stand up and say, nope, that's wrong. This is the way it's going to be, and we're not accepting anything other than that.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that with all of this stuff being, everyone's focusing on Doge and the importance of what they're doing or the mistakes that they're doing or all of that kind of stuff, this is from both sides. They're looking at it as something that's exceedingly important, just like they look at the presidency as something that's exceedingly important. And it's not supposed to be. That we're not supposed to be electing a king. This is that is authority that should never have been delegated, and it was unlawful to be delegated by Congress to the executive branch. And if we had actually stuck to that and we held all of our politicians accountable for when they exceeded that, then a lot of this wouldn't be, they couldn't have done all of this stuff in the dark. There would be no reason for it to be exposed because Congress should have been the ones in charge of any of that rulemaking or any of that departmental stuff in the first place. The presidency is supposed to be more or less, I'm not going to say a completely insignificant position, but the significance of one person within the government should never have gotten to the point where it is seen as being as significant as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, absolutely. And quite honestly, I think we're post the two-party system right now. I really do. It's become irrelevant at this moment in time because of how manipulated they both are. They are both steered by money. They have both taken dirty money. And I don't know. I think that we need to do something that is a little bit more revolutionary than the way that it's going right now, because it's never going to change. It's going to be the same thing. They are literally vetting people. They are using people at the, I'm going to say, lower levels, even though it shouldn't be the lower levels. That's where the government should come from. But they're using them to have them come and be part of the party. If you do what we ask you to do, you'll get elevated. If you don't, you get ostracized and pushed out. There's a huge report that's going to be coming out on actually what happened in the 2022 election for governor. And it surrounds what actually happened to me. And this is, it was sort of like, I was sort of like a guinea pig to see how they could rig elections from now until Christ comes back. And it didn't work for them really well because we actually fought it. However, there is some things that I think people need to know that happened, and I'm going to put this out there, and it names names on who engineered this, why they engineered this, what the goal really was. The goal was to take away the vote of we the people and to totally disable we the people, to kneecap them so that their votes would never, ever count. And right now, quite honestly, it is my opinion that President Trump overwhelmingly had the vote. But the question I still have is, why did they let him win when they subverted the vote from him on down? You can't look at the vote counts and say that this was honest from the ballot from his race on down. I think they gave us a win in order to shut us up, and they're going to basically slit our throats in the judiciary as well as in the legislature. But they gave us a win there, and we'll see how brutal they can be with the cuts that they make with Doge. I'm really cheering for them. I mean, every day I get up and I'm like, yay, take some more stuff out, right? But at the end of the day, why don't we have 20 candidates running? Why is it that they're picking our candidates that we can choose from? I want that question answered.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And one thing too that I've seen with Doge, like I said, I was never a huge fan of taking a guy that gets so much subsidy money and made his fortune off of subsidy money and putting him in charge of, putting the fox in charge of the hen house. However, one thing that I will say for him is that a lot of the stuff he's done has had some major blowback to the companies that he is ostensibly in charge of, in that they have taken some major financial hits. Now, if that is true and authentic, and that actually continues to the point where he is having a tangible detriment to himself for the things that he's doing, that does get some respect from me. If he's actually making a personal sacrifice into this.
Right.
But again, it's only been a month or so. We'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's too early for me to really make a judgment on any of the intentions of any of this.
And what if this is actually, so there's another thing I'm going to throw in to muddy the waters here just a little bit, okay? Because that's what we do on BNN. We've got to muddy the waters and take everything in. What if this truly is a military operation? So when we see President Trump make a statement that says on March 4th, every member of Congress is mandated, they are directed to and are required to be sitting in their seats on March 4th when President Trump addresses them. It made me ask a lot of questions right there. So that would be a direction from the executive branch, basically as a superior to the legislature. Seemed a little odd to me. Now, if he were commander in chief, it would be, and they were paused, that would be reasonable. But I don't think that the president can mandate that they all are in their seats under a republic. So it makes me wonder if, in fact, he is commander in chief and this has all been a military operation.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that that's what we're seeing here, and not taking it at face value. You can look at the inauguration of Biden. There were so many anomalies there, including all the military protocols that were just kind of set aside. So has President Trump been commander in chief all along? I would say there's a good chance of that. And we are watching a military operation play out as the greatest sting to get the bad guys that has ever happened in the history of the world. I'm hoping, I'm praying that this is the case, because our nation was taken over by infiltration. That's what the communists do. They take over by infiltration. The military has the right, if we the people ask them to step up, to step in and right it. We have an occupied government by a foreign entity, which is basically spit on the Constitution, is spit on we the people, have done everything wrong. I can't even count one thing that they've done right. So is that a possibility? I'm going to ask you guys that. What's your opinion?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I would honestly say no, because this is the same military, if you remember, 3, 4, 5 years ago, that kicked tens of thousands of honest service members who refused the clot shot, right? And they're still suffering for it. In the
What if
meantime,
it's a
they've had
military
tens of thousands of deaths within that same military. A lot of these leaders have not changed, and I know this personally, that they're still pushing it, right? There is no way in my mind that you can have such a degrading select officers who are willing to destroy the very youth of the nation, our own sons and daughters that serve, and then say that they're going to head anything up and do it correctly. I don't see that at all. But again, I'm also the one that believes that President Trump is no different than the rest of them. I don't see any differences between administrations, except for very few and far between. They change the flags out, but the same castle sits on their ugly foundation that's been set up, right? So I don't see that at all. I see the exact opposite.
And I see where we talk about psyops in one particular political direction quite a bit. There's nothing limiting psyops to just one political direction. We're seeing psyops from every direction, both positive and negative, both left and right, everywhere. It's all psyops. Nobody's telling the truth. So how much of this is there to manipulate us, and how much of it is actual truth? And we'll see.
That's why we have to hold to the law. We have to hold to the scriptures, the Constitution, and the laws that are set in place. And that will separate out the left from the right, so that we can continue to walk a straight and narrow path in righteousness. Right? The moment the people start getting diverted again on the next shiny object is the moment they start pushing things in the background that nobody wants to talk about. That's been going on my entire lifetime, right? And that's the reason why I say I don't see any difference, because Trump did it too in the background while things were going on in his first term, right? There were plenty of unconstitutional acts that he should have been impeached for, but nobody wanted to talk about those because they were legitimate. They wanted to throw a Russia hoax in there, right? Which was completely illegitimate. I knew that one wasn't going to go anywhere. But they don't want to talk about the real issues. They don't want to bring up the prosecution that's necessary or the judgments that's necessary. There's no one up in the federal government that will take it that far, and that is their duty to do so. I know even President Trump during his first term and continuing on, he kept talking about Article 2, how it gives him authority to do whatever he wants. Those are his words, right? That was on the ignorance of the people. I don't know how many people actually know what Article 2 has to say in our Constitution, right? That's what he was referring to. But it delegates the proper authorities to the President of the United States, which are only just a couple. There's hardly anything in there, and Ralph, you just talked about it. There's hardly anything in there that the President can do.
Well, maybe that's his point. And I think all of this conversation is step by step. And that's key, step by step. We can't do it all at once, but the people are learning. As I've said about the test of Meshawn Maddock, the people are learning, and they're learning to, how many people have started to look at the Doge website? They're looking at a government website. They're looking at the White House website to see when Trump puts out an executive order. That website doesn't have to be there. We have the Federal Registry. But if you look at the Federal Registry, you got to wait several days before an executive order shows up there. It's the official recording of it. And but he's putting it out there so that the people can see quickly, and the people are looking for it. They're researching Greenland. They're researching, oh, does he have authority of that? What's that code? How do I find out where that code is? What is in the Constitution? People are looking at things that they've never looked at before. They're doing research they've never researched before. And it's easier than ever to find it because it's not as censored. And it's easier than ever to share it because the censorship is so low compared to Trump's first term. He had the mandate of the people. That's a big word now. The people had let it be known what they wanted in the government, and he seems to be trying to do that. Can he clean out every branch? And that includes the military branch. So when I hear you say, well, they're pushing, they quote unquote are pushing things in the military that they shouldn't be. Well, they're no different than every other branch of government. They have to learn to recognize what is right from wrong and stand up for it. A lot of them did. And some of them are opting to come back. Some of them are getting compensation. So I think we're going to see some of these investigations and prosecutions coming about. A lot of the justice we're waiting for. Another topic that I think is really telling, is really interesting to watch it play out, is the Epstein list. Well, does this, I can't remember her name because she's being called nicknames, this Luna, what did she have the authority to do and what isn't she? People were looking at her and mocking her. Well, because they're confused about what authority she has, so they investigate it. And then it came out, no, she doesn't have the authority that people thought she had. She didn't have the right to declassify things. Trump does. And then who does after that? And then why wouldn't that list be put out to the people immediately? That a lot of people were calling for. I want to see it right now, right now. Well, hold on. What does that mean then? If you want to see prosecutions, don't you think that Trump and his team, the Department of Justice, etc., know what's on that list? Who's on that list? And if they want to prosecute them properly, they might need to hide some things in their investigations before they go to court or whatever form of justice is coming, so that they can protect the integrity of their case. Donna, you know about cases. You don't want to spill all your beans at once just because the public wants to know. I want to know all about Donna's cases, but I don't need to know that, and I don't need to see it publicized because I want Donna to win. And that's the case with the Epstein list. I want those people prosecuted properly and lawfully, and that means I might have to wait to find out who's on there until such time as I can see the proper lawful justice. And it may be that there's grand jury indictment and investigations happening still in process, and we just have to wait a little bit longer for the timing to be right so things can be done well. And
well,
that's,
and I think to your point
that's
is
tough.
We want justice to be served.
Yeah.
There's a point in time where the wheels of justice turn slowly, and that's important because we don't want to the whole thing is broken. I'm going to give you that, okay? But there's time where we've got to just stop because the court of public opinion has been running rampant over the United States for years. I had a friend that basically said, "Oh, I know Dolly Parton's a child trafficker," and she just went on and on. I said, "Stop right now. First of all, where did you hear that? And second of all, this is exactly how they take good people down. Unless you have the receipts, you're absolutely gossiping and sinning against God and man at that point in time. Don't pass it on. And don't just jump into so that you can be in the know on whatever new crap comes out that they've put out there to destroy people. This is one of their biggest weapons. And so we want true justice to find out what actually happened. If people are guilty, they have to be brought to justice, period. But if you run into it and muddy the waters with insane and inane gossip, all you do is destroy, destroy. I don't know how to say it. Destroy real and good people. I gotta duck out for just a minute, guys. Please continue.
Well, and you also have the risk to poisoning your jury pool for court cases if you start putting information out there that is either unproven or really anything unsubstantiated. You can end up with a situation where the side that is morally in the wrong has the legal means to eject jurors who otherwise shouldn't be ejected.
Well, and here's the thing about classified files. I see what you're saying, Karen, but here's one of the issues I have with that. It wasn't that terrible long ago, within a couple of decades, where people were just calling for the unclassification of files, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is that the government has no right to classify files, right? They have no right to hide anything from the people if they desire to see it. Now, like I said, I understand what you're saying. However, the mindset now of the people have changed into just wanting to unclassify the files so they can see what was on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was all a big show.
Yeah.
Because as Abraham Lincoln said, love him or hate him, he had said, if you want to change law, you must first change public opinion on something.
Yes.
If you can change the people's opinion, they will let you get away with whatever you want to get away with, right? And I'm going to say that because Abraham Lincoln did it. You could see what he did against the states. But that's the way I perceive this. And it's no different than a lot of other things that are happening. They have to drive this narrative to say that, we have to unclassify these things now, because we have a right now we need to know what's in them, right? Well, no. I want you to unclassify them because you had no right to classify them in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the ground on which I stand. I don't care if I need to know what's in them or not. I don't care if you take some time to do what you need to do, but you had no right to classify any of these files in the first place because the people are the rightful owners of every piece of paper and document and digital source that comes from our government. We pay for it. It is ours to have, right? And I understand there are some national security things. Yeah, by all means, right? But then you keep them in private as you can between your heads of department. But the people are still going to find out. They still have that right to know. And that's
Right.
It still boils down to being moral and religious enough to be able to keep your mouth shut when something needs to not be broadcast across the earth, right?
Well, and I would say, too, that part of this comes down to the right to a speedy trial. It's not just for the defendant. It's
right.
also for the public.
Yeah.
And so if this was something that, I am generally of the opinion that if you purport to have a representative form of government, but yet you're hiding things from the people who are voting, in the same way that you can't have informed consent on a medical procedure, those voters do not have informed consent on what they're voting for, and therefore you have broken the ability to even claim that your government is representative of the people. Because if it was, they could be informed of everything and still do the same thing. However, you've also got the problem of right now court cases that can take a decade to resolve. That's not a speedy trial. Yep. And if you wanted to have something like this, that you were able to keep a piece of information secret until justice was able to be served, then that's all well and good. Accelerate the justice process. Then the information can be revealed at the end of the court case after the verdict has actually been resolved, and you wouldn't have to have these situations where you have information that's hidden from the people that it's supposed to be revealed to for, potentially decades.
And the other issue with classifying things specifically, we're allowing what we all know to be a corrupt government to classify things, hide them in a locker, whatever digital vault you want to say. And then we're going to say that when they release them, they're going to be accurate. They've had decades to manipulate it and to move any information they want around. And we think it's going to be accurate. That's why I said on the JFK files, I said when they release the JFK files, there's not going to be anything there for the people to see. It's going to be so manipulated. They've had a half a century more to do whatever they wanted with those files. What does it matter at this point? The same thing happened with the files with, come on, Martin Luther King Jr., right? They had decades and decades to manipulate those files. And some of the information that I saw come out on Martin Luther King Jr. that the people jumped on was absolutely disgusting, because I happen to have known the guy that's spoken with those immediately around Martin Luther King, that all of them in unison denied every single one of those accusations against Martin Luther King Jr. So yeah, that I am 100% absolutely sure that they manipulated those files into making Martin Luther King Jr. come out as some weird orgious pedophile that they wanted to talk about. Right? I'm not buying it.
So it's on both sides. All of the information on both sides is being manipulated, unfortunately. So I think that to that point, we're really going to have to think our way through this a little bit and check ourselves as we go through this process to find out exactly what's going on and who's who in the zoo, because both sides are lying. Both sides are lying. And they're kind of working together. I mean, all you got to do is look at, for example, Republicans for Whitmer, and who's funding the majority of the Republicans right now. Where is the money coming from? There's a huge problem. And I am 100% a fan of diversification away from the two-party system right now. We need to have more options. We need to give more candidates the ability to get on without being stalled out by a process that's only letting those that they want to be running for office to run. They're stopping it at multiple points. There's failure points along the way. So to address that has to come. That's something that we're going to have to address it.
If the people want to abolish the party system, I'm all for it. It would only take one series. If the people wanted to abolish it, like they claim they say, quit participating in it.
There you go.
And it will dissolve itself. It only exists by the people's will of participation. A tyrant can only do what the people allow him to get away with.
Well, it's like the shots. It's like everything else, even in the military and the military and the hospital or the medical system, the unmedical system, they all had a choice to make. Do you give the shots? Do you take the shots? The American people had that choice. I really believe that, we all should have choices. We should be able to make those choices based on and learn from our mistakes at this point in time. But people have to walk away. If the medical system is broken, get out and figure out how to do it better. If the political system is broken, get out. Right now, the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are both a domestic and a foreign threat to the United States of America because they're being funded by foreign entities. So what are you going to do with that? You're going to keep running and voting for Republicans and Democrats? I don't see how anybody can do it at this point in time. And there's been no good move. And so now they throw this gay marriage bill into the mix to distract everybody away from doing anything when they're not even asking the right question of why is the government in marriage at all. So that's
I'm going to bring us
around back to that, right?
As Bill was saying though about the declassification process, I think again, step by step is where I'm going to. People are talking about declassification now, where they weren't even talking about it before. What does it mean? Whose authority is it? That's a first step, because I think then you can say, wait a minute, Are we supposed to have classification? Are we supposed to, how does this, why is this, people have to start with looking at the condition that they see in front of them, because that's all they got. And then they start to ask deeper questions into what's hidden from them. And so, like yesterday, I saw a post about Michael Jackson. Well, I had heard rumors about him being a pedophile and such, but I read that Pepe had written about Michael Jackson. He did a dig, and I was like, oh, cool. I think I'll give that a skim just so I have more awareness. The day before, it was Tom Hanks. Was Tom Hanks a pedophile? Here's the evidence. Okay, I can see it. Maybe, maybe not. I'm kind of leaning in the direction that likely he is, but I want to see the justice for it. I want to start with an awareness. You have to know what was done to Michael Jackson, what was done to Princess Diana, and then, okay, what's that evidence going to lead you to? Where you need to dig further. Yesterday, I dug into something about Michigan, and I discovered we have an assistant attorney general. Did you know we had that? And I asked Grok, now that I'm on X, I thought, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to search Grok. And Grok said, didn't really know who appointed this man and when. But he's taking a guess that it was our Attorney General, current Nessel.
Karen, we're going to have to go to a break here, and we'll pick this up probably. I don't know what the rest of the week is going to have, but the point being is that we've got so much stuff that's coming out. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds, then I need to go to my next guest, okay? Karen, you want to start 30 seconds?
Okay.
Let's do a quick 30 seconds, okay?
Yeah. I think it's great to ask questions. I see that people are doing that. I find that very encouraging, step by step. And like we said, we're only a month into this term, so we're going to have to be patient about some things. But I think it's fine to be impatient and demand things. To disagree, like the Republicans did. Hey, disagree with Trump. I give them a little bit of credit for that.
I give him a lot of credit. Okay, Ralph.
Stand up.
Question everything, including being told to question everything.
Phil.
No less than Jeremiah said at the end of the book of Lamentations, when you read that our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities, right? Not only is our generation putting up with certain things we ought not tolerate, but we're also taking on the load of the previous generations before us, right? What was the end cry of that after all of the sins were told and the people realized where they were? What was the end cry? He says, turn thou us unto thee, O Lord, and we shall be turned.
Beautiful. So guys, next week we're going to be talking about the Constitution Party. We were all over the place today, which is probably a good thing. So next week we'll be talking about the Constitution Party and what happened last weekend at the Constitution Party meeting. And I love you guys. You're great friends, and I wish you well. So I'm going to go to my next guest, and that's Patrick Christie. We're going to be talking about this same-sex marriage bill that we've already kind of been talking on. If you want to stay on and have a discussion with him, that would be fine, but we've kind of already beat this up pretty good. So it's up to you. So I'm going to go to a quick break, and then I'll bring Patrick Christie on. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg. It is the 26th day of February 2025 and welcome to our show. We're going to jump right into the next segment, which is about a same-sex marriage bill that was put in that was offered up by Josh Shriver. I did ask Josh if he would come on today, and he did decline. So I'm kind of disappointed in that, because I do think that if you have an opportunity to talk about this, especially with people that you are maybe on opposite sides of the table from, that you really need to make yourself available in order to have a clear discussion. Now, I don't want to get into today necessarily the philosophical part of this. We're going to stick to the law. So I want to welcome Patrick. Morning, Patrick. How are you?
Morning, Donna. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great, and it's a pleasure to have you here, as well as to be able to talk about this. Karen, I'm going to set you backstage for just a minute, and I'll bring you on after Patrick has time to talk, okay?
Okie dokie.
All right. So anyhow, it's a pleasure to have you here, and you're the head of the Detroit Log Cabin Republicans group. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, I want you to launch into this a little bit, because you did a statement, and I'm going to let you take the reins here and hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah. So obviously we all know at this point, State Rep Shriver came out and fundamentally is trying to take away our rights. It totally goes against, in my opinion, and many other Republicans' opinions, what our party stands for. In a time where we should be moving forward, he's moving backwards, and it's only hurting our party, in my opinion. And we're going to fight till the very end against it. So
I think that most people out there are pretty disgusted with this entire fight. And I can tell you that people that are probably on BNN know my opinion very well on this, which is, the question should be asked is, why is the government in marriage at all? I was married at 21, and you had to have a pelvic before you could get married. They had to check you out to see if you were okay. I don't understand that. Now, we don't have to do this anymore, but this is a usurpation in the way I look at it. This is a total usurpation. The government has no right, nor should they be in marriage at all, other than a record keeper, and that is it. So the question that I have right now is, why was this introduced by Republicans right now? Well, we've got a new president. Well, Doge is active and all this, yet not one of these people have really spoken out in an appreciable way over the child trafficking that's going on, over the budgets, and they go off on a tangent right now and decide, oh man, let's bring up gay marriage, instead of cleaning the house out and getting the rats off the ship. I can only say that it's got to be to either hide something as a distraction. I don't know, but the question is why is the government in marriage at all?
You know, Donna, that's something I've asked myself a lot recently. When I first heard about this potentially coming to the forefront a few months ago, I think it was one of the few things that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party could both agree on, that why are we even stepping into people's marriages again? 10 years ago, we passed this, and it fundamentally changed gay rights as a whole. Now we have a state rep coming to the forefront trying to make a change, but in my opinion, he's only doing it for political motives. We're coming up to the midterms. It's clear he's trying to get his name out there. He's trying to bring attention to something that nobody really supports. And I think that was clearly shown yesterday, not just on a state level, but a national level and even internationally.
Yeah, well, this is one of those philosophical issues, just like abortion, that people have been people have the right to their opinions in my mind. I do have a problem. I do have a problem with sanctity of life and anything that violates that. But the way to win these issues is to get the government out of it and let the people settle this instead of having these mandates. And I'm gonna stick with that. The government has no right to be in marriage. And if we defunded abortion, I'm pretty sure that we would actually move the line. Right now, we're sitting in this fight mode where nothing gets done, and they continue to bring it just stalls everything out, and then nothing gets done for we the people, and it's fairly disgusting.
And I think especially as a pretty much lifetime long Michigander, there's way more pressing issues in this state right now that we should be focusing on.
I agree
we have
with that.
Alyssa Slotkin that was recently elected. She wants to push EV mandates. When you think of Michigan, you think of two things, the Great Lakes and the automotive industry. By pushing EV mandates, it's going to cripple the economy in this state. And by doing that, it's only hurting Michiganders more and more. And Representative Shriver focusing on a completely different topic that's not even relevant in the 21st century at this point anymore is just shying away from things that the Democrats are focusing on. They're focusing in on that we're a non-accepting party. It's not true. I'd argue and say we're probably one of the more accepting parties. We have an administration that's implemented many gay conservative men into our cabinet and administration. It's disgusting what Representative Shriver is trying to do, and I don't believe it will pass, but the fact that it's even on the radar and that there's people in our party still actively going against people's rights needs to end.
Well, I think we need to be fighting for the government to get out of people's lives, period. And,
I agree.
and stick with the Constitution, stick with staying on the legal rails instead of just going, well, we're going to pick a topic today and let's just throw this out there. And I believe that Matt Maddock and Steve Carra are supporting this. So to both Josh and Matt and Steve, why don't we ask the right questions, which is let's get into the money laundering that is just rampant in this state. Why don't we address this? They can't say they didn't know because they're in it and they're part of it. Everyone that's sitting in a seat right now has been in this and has been part of this and has seen it. So why are they shying away from this and just bringing up a subject to make people fight? Either defund stuff, get out of it, nullify the state back to the Constitution, or shut the hell up.
Yeah. And also, if you're expecting, gay couples to pay the same amount in taxes as heterosexual couples, well, shouldn't we have the same rights as those couples?
I agree. And this is another issue that needs to be brought up. Right now, they've turned it into both sides, both the gay rights and lesbian side, as well as our government has gotten sucked into a really bad narrative, because once the government is in marriage, their main goal is they're betting that your marriage will fail so that they can take your stuff in the civil action jurisdiction that's out there. 98% of the cases are a money judgment, and they take 18% of that judgment to take your stuff, and it goes into the retirement fund and the fund for them. So the point being is that there shouldn't be any differences. With whatever your marriage is, this is up to you. There shouldn't be a financial advantage from being from in any perspective whatsoever. That's what needs to be gone after, is level the playing field and get out of marriage and stop stealing from people who want to just live their lives.
We need limited government again.
I agree with that. So what's the plan here from your perspective on how to really address this?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, back to what I said earlier, I think our plan of attack right now is obviously, if it did get to the federal level, I have all the faith that it would never pass. But the fact of the matter is we do need to come up with some form of a plan of attack, because we have representatives like Josh Shriver who are actively trying to take our rights away. So what can we do? I think we continue to zero in as a Republican Party on our key issues. It's okay to have people in our party that we disagree with. You just hammer in on your issues and get your other colleagues to continue to go full force on the issues that you all agree on, instead of focusing on a representative like himself who just at this point wants a talking point. It's clear he wants his name out in the media waves. He's gotten his 5 minutes of fame yesterday, and it'll continue for a few more months. But Republicans as a whole, we're pushing so many different agendas and policies that are benefiting not just our state, but the American people. And we have an administration in place that is working for all Americans. Josh Shriver is working against Americans. And as somebody that's elected to our state level, it's a shame that he's doing that.
Well, do you have any people that are standing up for the right thing, which is getting the state out of marriage, period? Not just, to remove or rescind or nullify, I guess, all of the stuff that's been done in this area, and say maybe we should just get the government right out of all of this and let people live their lives. I'd really like to see that happen.
I
Is
would
there
love
any-
to see that too. That's one of the main things I would love to be a part of and get people involved with. I'm sure there's listeners here on the podcast today that would love to be involved. I encourage people to not only reach out to you, but reach out to myself, because we need to have government limited. It's okay to have government involved in our lives, but there needs to be a point where that line is drawn as to how far is too far. And clearly, taking away fundamental marriage rights is way too far.
Do you have a way that people can get a hold of you? I'm going to put it on a banner at the bottom, and we'll hang on a minute. We'll see if we can get people in contact with you who really want to do something. I really believe that we have to get involved. So let me see. Hang on a minute, and give people the ability to get involved. Do you have a phone number that you would pass out, or do you have a
Yeah, I have an email. If anybody wants to email our main email for Log Cabin Detroit, it's logcabindetroit@gmail.com.
Just a minute, I'll get that. I got myself a new tool here, so I've been trying to use it. logcabindetroit@gmail.com. Okay, let's go ahead and add that in a minute so you can see how to get a hold of either Patrick or myself. There we go.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you taking a stand on this. Are you pretty new to the log cabin leadership? I believe I heard
Yeah,
that.
so I just joined in January. Prior to that, I lived in Charleston, South Carolina the past 4 years. I've always been passionate about politics. I think that was rooted, and again, this goes back to our state and even local government. I was silenced through high school by Democratic leadership that unfortunately suspended me multiple times throughout my high school education experience for being vocal on my support towards then candidate Donald Trump. It was in those years where I was forming some of my most crucial decision-making skills and identity skills that I realized that this wasn't okay. We couldn't have some of our most vulnerable in society while they're growing up be silenced. And ever since then, I've always been passionate about politics. And when I made the decision to move back here to Michigan in September of 2024, I knew that I was going to get involved with politics. And that's when I started helping out with President Trump's campaign, Mike Rogers, when he was running for Senate. And then I had the option to run for president's seat for the Log Cabin chapter of Detroit. And I did that and won. And so I'm super excited to actually make change and do positive change, not just in Michigan and locally, but I think nationally. There's a huge movement of gay conservative men, and I'm super proud to be leading that in one of the most key swing states in our country.
I got to tell you, I've heard more people that are associated with log cabin speaking out against child trafficking than probably any group that's running. So I'm going to bring Karen in just a minute and see. Hey, Karen.
Hello.
Thought I'd bring you in for a minute because we were talking about this the hour before and let you weigh in on this.
Well, first of all, I want to applaud your willingness to be active in, I hate to say politics, but that's an easy way to just describe it.
Government.
To see that things need to change, to desire to be a part of that change, because we need more young people to be willing to be involved, to be asking the questions like we were talking about earlier, and do something about it.
I think too, to that point, unfortunately, my generation has become this generation where all we care about for the most part is what others think. That's where I pivoted and made my platform, and the fact that I need to continue to stay put in what my fundamental beliefs and opinions are. And I've been very vocal on that. I intend on continuing to be vocal. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch these people help me come to the forefront, work alongside me, that are the same age as me, that normally wouldn't have used their voice. But as I've started to do that, and these other people that have come into play and kind of follow, it's been great. And there's this movement, not just here in Detroit, but other chapters I've spoke with, there's this huge movement of gay conservative men. We're fed up, we're done, we're ready to change both parties, and I think it's just the start.
Yeah, I think that's really inspiring. Do you have any other issues or projects you're working on in the Detroit chapter?
Yeah, so our board, we've got a lot of stuff in the works. This would have been a great time to announce that, but we've got some stuff in the works. I encourage people. We have a couple events coming up in March. I'll put those up on social media after our interview today. You can find us on Instagram. It's LCR Detroit. We have monthly mixers where we invite all our members to come together, and people debating joining our chapter. It's a great way to meet local leaders and just people with similar mindset and views as you. And we collaborate and come up with positive change and ideas that we can implement locally, statewide, and nationally.
That's X's at LCR Detroit.
It's actually Instagram, LCR Detroit.
Instagram.
Yep.
Okay.
And also my Instagram, I post a lot on there. It's Patrick Christie _.
Okay, let's see if I can put this up here a minute. I've got a new toy, Karen.
I noticed. I was just going to say, she's having fun with this new toy.
I am. It's fun. So, absolutely.
Those of us who are older are a little like, I just got on X the other day. I don't know if you heard that, Patrick. I just 2-3 days ago just joined X.
I just got on I haven't been on it in like 5 years. And so finally I'm like, you know what, get back on X or Twitter. And I got back on. I'm like, why haven't I been using this for years?
Well, I had a grudge
learning.
match, and I had to get over my grudge match. But my grudge match was when, let's see if this is correct. My grudge match against Twitter was that they nuked me off with all the Flynns, and it took me a long time to actually get back on X again because I was holding a grudge against them. I still don't have my old account back, but I am using it. So there you go.
So I have a question for you, Patrick. One of the top issues for Donna and for myself also is election integrity. Is your group researching that, working on a focus on that for the party? Because I haven't seen or heard much of an effort coming out of the MIGOP, and that is why I'm so critical of, it's one reason why I'm so critical of them, because there's no talk and there's no walk as far as I can see. So is that something that this younger generation that you're a part of is looking into? I think you can make a lot of difference there.
Yeah, so election integrity, I think, is one of the key things, honestly, I'm seeing more and more in my own generation and even in my own personal self and what I'm looking for. We've had these career politicians that run on the same running line for years and years and years, but there's never change. I'm seeing, like I said, with myself and then other people, these politicians, they need to be held accountable. And the integrity of politics, most of these politicians aren't being held accountable. And so what we're seeing now is this semi-underlying movement, and I'm really excited to see it. I feel it will come to the forefront of the midterms, of people feeling it's okay to question your own party. We've had both parties for so long where we don't question our own party. You just have to agree with it. And if you do, then it's like, well, are you loyal to us? It's okay to have differing views in our parties. That's where growth and change comes to the forefront. That's where these ideas or these challenges get focused on. If you're not questioning your own party, there's never going to be effective change, because at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. People are going to screw up. But it's from those screw ups and those mistakes that you learn and your party grows. And that's what the Democratic Party hasn't realized. They still are pushing. I was watching Fox News this morning. They're still trying to push the Russia hoax. Fox was highlighting that. They're pushing even in other states where Trump might have not got the full vote. These are all conspiracy theories that are not legitimate. There is no basis to them. You need to acknowledge the change. And in order to acknowledge the change, you have to question your own party. And I think my generation is going to be that generation politically that starts that movement. And it's going to be really interesting in the midterms and then 2028 to see who comes to the forefront because of those actions.
Well, I think you're doing great, and I'm
Thank
really
you.
really honored that you would come on today and talk about what you're doing. Let me know when your events are. Maybe I'll take a swing over there and
Yeah,
uh,
I actually was just up
drop
in
in.
Grand Rapids, and I met your son, and we were up in Grand Rapids at one of our events. And it was a great time. He's a great kid. I look forward to working with him.
I try to come to a lot of the different events across the state.
Yeah,
That there's very good people. I'm friends with Rick Grinnell. I'm
yeah,
friends with so many people that are in the log cabin who are actually doing something.
yeah,
That really really heartens me to see that when so many people they just show up for the coffee and the cookies. I mean, they're cookie eaters.
exactly. And the networking. Yeah,
And that's they don't even network really. They go home and they put their feet up and grab a cup of coffee and well, my job's done. I showed up for a meeting. No, that's why did you show up? You know, what's the purpose? What are you going to do to move the line in the state? Who are you going to challenge? Who that's my question to all these people that show up for cookies and coffee. What are you doing? The talking has come to the end and we have to be involved. We have to step up and do something to prove. I mean, even the Bible talks about it. It's our works. We're known by our works. We're saved by our faith, but we're known by our works, and it kind of goes together, in my opinion. You can't just say you believe in something and then say I'm never going to show up unless it's convenient. For me, that's not okay. The way it needs to be is make a commitment to people, show up and be their best friend, their best phone a friend at any moment in time when they need help. Step up, figure out what to do, and just join in somehow. You got to do something, everybody.
exactly. So, that's what I encourage people my own age. You know, a lot of people are concerned as to where things are going. Well, use your voice. That's what I did. I was tired of how things were going. I was tired of the past 4 years. I wanted to see effective change that we had from 2016 to 2020 that this country has never experienced. And seeing President Trump run and then win again, I knew I had to get involved and use my voice. And that's what I intend to do the next 4 years and then even further. So
that's amazing. I would encourage everybody out there too, that there's a lot of straight people that show up for the log cabin meetings. It's
honestly, a majority of our people are straight allies.
I think so, because it's like I show up, I'm straight, and I show up. I would go to a Democrat meeting, quite honestly, and try to bridge the gaps that are there that have been created to divide us. I think that's a higher calling, really, is to bridge those gaps.
And that's one of the things, I've tried to implement more and more because it is a two-party system. We're going to need to work together.
Or abolish it.
Yeah, or abolish it. A couple of weeks ago, in Lake Orion, my hometown, there was a school board meeting, very democratically controlled. And I showed up there being vocal on the fact that this local government school board wanted to close a critical center for special needs children within our own district. After my multiple FOIA request findings, we realized that they were only closing this building for their own ulterior motives. But at the end of the day, I was willing to work with the Democratic leadership and try to find a resolution to work not only for them, but also the Republicans within our own district, because what they were doing wasn't okay. And it wasn't just my opinion. It was the Democratic side as well. And we came to a resolution, and now we're working on a resolution together. And I'm confident that we'll come to a resolution that works for everybody. And that's one of the key things that I try to point out. It's not just working for your party. You have to work with both parties, because if you think you're just going to work with your party, nothing's going to be achieved, because you're always going to be countered from the other side. And even within your own party, look at me with Representative Shriver. I don't agree with that, and many other Republicans don't agree with that either.
Well, I think siding with we the people is the best way to do it, and finding out what they want done, even above the party politics that's going on. Because I'm going to go back to the fact that nobody right now is talking about the correct solution, which is get the government out of marriage, period. There is the true answer for how to deal with this. Is the government is supposed to be constrained. It has no business, and it's a usurpation for them to even think about going there. So, but I tell you, I really appreciate you stepping in. I know a little bit of the history of the Detroit area. And I think it's wonderful that you stepped up and that you're bringing more people into the process of self-governance, asking questions, researching, and standing up for what you believe in. I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and it's not just me. There's a huge movement we saw here, even in the recent 2024 election. We had areas that have voted blue for years, multiple elections since the 90s that have turned red. People are ready for change, and they might not agree with all the Republican values, but they see that the Republican Party is leading that change. We've implemented RFK into our administration. He is going to transform the health sector in this country. We have Elon Musk implementing change at the top level of our financial institutions and cleaning it out from both the Republican side and the Democratic side. The administration we have in Washington is changing Washington, turning it upside down. People don't love it, but it's a beautiful thing to watch. It's chaotic, it's chaos, but you know what? No change comes without controversy. And that's literally what our administration is doing right now.
Are you doing the happy dance like every day? I am. I'm like,
I wake
every
up
day I get up and go, it's like Christmas again today. And what new present of ripping this stuff out by the roots are we going to find out today that President Trump and the good guys are doing?
I know, it's a great thing to see.
Wonderful. Karen, I think this is a great time. We always end with a prayer. Karen, I'm going to go ahead and say the prayer, and then we'll give you each 30 seconds to finish this up. And if there's anything I could do to help you, just let me know too.
I will.
We need to do some serious revolutionary things here in the state of Michigan in order to give the nation and our state back to we the people and the control of our governance. So let's go ahead and say a prayer here, guys. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Patrick and Bill and Karen and Ralph and all the wonderful people who are willing to step forward, who are willing to weigh in on the issues, even the hard issues, to try to find your will in how government should be functioning. We love you so much. We know that all of us have fallen short of the glory of God, and we know that Jesus was the only perfect one, and he didn't throw a stone. The rest of us, we're your children. We're just kind of puddle ducking around down here and trying to figure our way through life. Help us to see others the way you do, with empathy and compassion, with being a help in this very broken world. If anybody had the answer down here, I think we'd all know it. We are very thankful for President Trump and all the good men and women that have stood with him, who are righting this nation as we speak, and the wonderful gifts that they're giving us. We ask that you continue to guide and direct each and every one of us on the path that you've laid ahead of us, and that you would give us the feet to walk that path no matter how difficult it is. Let everybody out there know that they are precious and wonderfully made by your hands, and that you walk with us. You pick us up when we fall. You cheer us on. You're the one that's sitting there saying, you can do it. Keep on going. Get it figured out and learn and continue to learn to be more like you. We want to be like you. You are amazing. You are wonderful. You are always good. And you've been a great friend to us. We want to be like you and walk away from the things that we've done that are wrong and be like you and live on this earth in peace with each other. Thank you for everything you've done for us. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Okay. So let's start out with Karen, and then we'll end with Patrick.
I just think everybody should be involved. We talked about that in the first hour. I think Bill mentioned everybody should get up and do something. And not just sit on the couch like that meme I made where you just, hey, we should do something, and then sit on the couch and wait for somebody else to be the we to get up and do something. You don't have to join a political party to feel like you're doing something. That seems to be the role to play for some people. It seems to be the role to play for Patrick. He's decided to jump into the party system and try to change it from within. But it's not for everybody else. I've been there and I've done that, and it wasn't for me. I ditched out. So find your role to play, whatever it is, because you can be one of those people that goes to the public meetings and pays attention and then stirs up change from instructing those public people, those officials in those seats to do what you want them to do. Just find a role to play and start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, so to Karen's point, I think you just get involved, use your voice. We all have a voice. The only thing that separates us all from our different platforms or change is how vocal you're willing to use your voice. You have to use your voice, especially in a day and age where the government is working against us, like Representative Shriver. Use your voice, get out there. And I also encourage people, like I said earlier, come check us out at Log Cabin Republicans Detroit. I'll post some of our events, like I said. We want more people to get involved, whether it's with us, the Republican Party, the state party, whatever it might be. Get involved, come see us. We'd love to talk to you, have you be a part of our organization and chapter. And to Donna's point, it's not all gay conservatives. We have a lot of straight allies that come out and support us. One, in the most recent election cycle, Mike Rogers was at many of our events. Mike was a huge support system for us. Get out, support your community, and use your voice.
I love that. So I think this is a great way to end the show today, is realizing that one thing that everyone needs to take into consideration is, do you really think that all the gay pride stuff that's out there was from the grassroots? This was well funded. And I am of the opinion that the majority of it was to divide us out from everyday Americans that are just trying to do the right thing. When you look at how well funded they were, the gay pride stuff and all that sort of thing, I'm pretty extra sure that most of those people were paid political activists. I don't even believe that the majority of them were and are gay and lesbian. I have a lot of gay and lesbian friends, but it sure as heck gets everybody to go, look at the gays, look at the lesbians, look at let's just name someone and throw them out there and throw them under the bus, instead of looking at the issues as they take our nation, because we're distracted on stuff that is not going to change fundamentally the evil and the subversion that's gone on in our government. So let's get focused, guys. I think that getting focused is going to be an amazing thing. Reach out to Patrick as well as any of the log cabin groups across Michigan. And you're going to find out that the events are really fun. They really are. In a very beautiful way, with people who are educated in an area that most people are not. So it's a good thing to check out, and honestly, talk to everyone. We don't have to sit in a room and just talk to those people that we agree with on subjects. I disagree with everybody at some point or another, and that's a good thing. We need to be able to talk with each other and not quickly shut people down and say, well, I'm not going to listen to you because you're a this or you're a that or you're stupid or whatever. I mean, this happens all the time, right? And then we get into bar fights at these party functions. It's ridiculous. We need to sit down and talk to each other with respect, because they're going to disagree with what you do. If you're talking to somebody you disagree with, guaranteed they probably feel the same way about you that you do about them, and so nothing gets solved. So take a walk around the building a few times before you even respond, and see if there's something we can all learn from each other, working together as one nation under God, and get the government out of stuff. This is the biggest question. Are you willing to stand for something where you say the government has no place to be part of that? So with that said, everybody, God bless you all. God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Go and make it a great day. It's a choice. It is a choice to keep your marbles when everybody else is losing theirs, and be that stability and that calm in the storm. And I will be seeing you. I don't know if I'm going to be on tomorrow. I think I need to take kind of a week off here. You can hear it with the fact that I'm a little bit on the cold meds right now, trying to just be able to be here and not be the poster child for Sudafed. So at any rate, have a great day. Stay on the line, Patrick, and we'll talk after we get offline. That's when you guys all miss the stuff. That's when we talk about. So, at any rate, have a great day, and we'll be seeing you soon.